Hello, sisters. Welcome back to the Sacred Sisterhood podcast. It has been a hot minute. It's been about a month since my last episode went out. That is because I got married last month, about 3 weeks ago in Spain, to my king, to my warrior, to my incredible Irishman soulmate, and I've been riding the wave of post-wedding bliss, as well as I took an additional week off of work after the week in Spain, just because my maid of honor was here in Salzburg. She's here from Canada, so I took her to all the spots, all of the power spots. You know, I took her to the healing salt cavern, which is 750 meters inside one of the mountains in the Alps. And the Dalai Lama actually had meditated in this spot and had said that this was like the heart chakra of the Alps. So a very, very powerful place. And you're immersing yourself in the energies and breathing in the salt from an ocean from like 250 million years ago. So yeah, one of my favorite places to go. I don't get out there as often as I'd like to, but I'm starting to make that a habit. Actually, me and my husband, not my fiance anymore, my husband, are going to be going there next week. This will be my first time I've taken him there. As well as I took her to this really beautiful power spot called Hexenlock. And Hexenlock is witch's hole in German. And this place just has such a rich history. It's a gorge in the Geisberg mountain that this beautiful water is streaming down, and the waterfall has created these different pools just in the mountain, in the rocks, just from the continued falling of the water. It's eaten out all of these really beautiful pools, and this water is so high vibrational, and it's filled with salt and minerals from the rich mountain. And when I'm there, I can just feel and see and tap into the energy of the centuries of wild women that would come there and bathe in these sacred healing pools. And I've really been called there a lot since I took my maid of honor out there. We totally embraced the naked culture in Austria when she was over. You know, it's completely legal to go swimming in the nude in lakes and rivers and such here. It's not indecent in exposure like what it would be in Canada, and I find it super liberating. So whenever I have the opportunity to take advantage of being able to swim in the Buff, I do. So since I've taken her out there, I've actually been called back to this place like 3 times in a matter of 6 days to get naked and jump into this water and submerge myself completely. And it's like this death and rebirth cycle almost, and it's really been clearing my channel, and I've been communicating with the goddess of the consciousness of this place, this power place. It's been absolutely magical. So, I just went off on a tangent there. I want to bring myself back. So yeah, I've been also really integrating and processing everything that happened the week of the wedding, just, you know, being around my family and friends that know a version of me from a year ago. You know, I have changed so much and grown so much since I've moved out to Austria 15 months ago. And so it was really, really powerful for me to stand in my power and own my truth and show up to my family and friends as who I am now, this queen, boss, witch healer, this successful coach who's now a wife, who's really into sensuality and healing the feminine and working with the goddess, just really, really owning that with them. You know, my family hasn't always understood me, but a lot of that I take responsibility for because I never gave them an opportunity to fully get to know me and fully understand me, because there was always so many parts of myself that I held back for fear of judgment. So I completely embraced my weird, my wild, my woo with my family. And I'm gonna get emotional as I talk about this, just because this week was so healing for my family. And I, for the first time, felt the love and acceptance from my brothers and the respect from my brothers. And I'm not saying it wasn't always there. I just had a very, very skewed damaged perception, wounded perception of how I was perceiving my family and my brothers, because I was always that little sister growing up that craved the attention of her older brothers and the acceptance and just wanted to be loved by them. And that I kind of carried into my adulthood, and I've been unraveling that pattern and really, really working on letting that go the last few years. But this year of me being away from my family definitely has helped me take steps forward in completely collapsing those timelines. So now that week of the wedding was really a matter of me radiating myself and allowing myself to fully be seen by my family, and it was beautiful. And there were times, that I had to set boundaries, and I had to really, just say, what, I have to take care of my energy. You guys are going to have to look after this on your own, like really handing over the responsibility for my family, for them to tribe together and overcome challenges and obstacles together as a family without relying on me to fix it, which I was always the fixer, right? And because my family are not travelers, I'm really the one who started that in my family. There was just a lot of extra things that were put on JP and myself that week of the wedding. And so come Thursday, Friday, the wedding was on Saturday, I really, had to say, what, you guys are going to have to, any issues that come up, you're going to have to fix on your own. I really need to be focusing on my energy so that I can be my best self come Saturday, come the day. And I was running on very little sleep all week, and it was the full moon. It was this partial lunar eclipse, and I was going through a mad light body activation. Like if you touched my spine, it almost put me in tears because my light body was so sensitive. And it was I also got my period, and I'm always extra sensitive during my period. And so I like to make my period, I really set space around it so it's sacred, and I'm just in my own bubble and just really taking care of myself. I don't make plans during my period. I try not to travel during my period, but it kind of seems like in the past, I'm working on rewriting this story. In the past, when me and JP have traveled, that's usually when my period comes. So I'm no longer creating that. I would like to have more travels without my period so that I can really enjoy it without the cramping and whatnot. So anyways, there was just a lot of healing that happened that week. But of course, because you're all caught up in, lack of sleep because you're up late with people, and then when it does come time for me to lay down and go to sleep, I was just working through all of these other people's thoughts moving through my mind and seeing the flashing face. It was this really crazy upgrade that I was experiencing. So it was a very intense week, and I didn't fully process all of it until just the last couple weeks, really, since I've been home. But the actual day was so incredibly magical. I mean, it was chaotic leading up. I did a pretty good job throughout the day. I went out for lunch with my maid of honor and got into the sea and, made sure I cultivated space for my meditation and calling in my guides, calling in my team. And everything was flowing really smoothly. It was a really relaxed time getting ready. The wedding wasn't until 6 o'clock, so we didn't go to the preparation room in the resort until 3 o'clock. And things were great until the last half hour before actually walking down the aisle was very, very chaotic. Just the last minute things. I put on my wedding dress and there's this huge crease across it after it had been steamed. So the girls were ironing it while the dress was on me, and the photographer had arrived. So she's taking all these pictures of the last minute preparations. And Claudia, my amazing, beautiful friend from Salzburg, she was doing my hair and makeup. She's a hairdresser, and just those final last touch-ups, and there was 10 people in the preparation room. It was insane. I ended up being 15 minutes late for my wedding, but it's okay. It was once I actually started, basically as I rounded that last palm tree on my dad's arms, and that's when I could then see the entire group of guests. We had 84 guests that flew in from Ireland, Canada. There was locals from Spain. We had Austrians. We had people in from Germany, from Italy, from Belgium, from England. All these different places that these people flew in for. They were all there to celebrate our union. And when I rounded that last palm tree on my dad's my dad's arm, I felt my dad start to shake, and he's wearing his cowboy boots. He was just like, I'm from a farm community, right? So my dad bought new cowboy boots to walk me down the aisle, and he started to shake as he was getting emotional. I'm like, oh no, here we go. And these tears just started streaming down my face, and seeing all these faces that were there for us, it was just so moving. And we had some good friends of ours. They're from Ireland. They're a band. They were playing music for us throughout the reception, and we had Michelle sing Hung the Moon by Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors as I was walking down the aisle, and she was just did such this beautiful job. Her voice was like liquid gold. And, you know, just walking into that atmosphere of all these people that were there for us, it was like walking into a portal, a vortex of love and support, and it was just so incredibly beautiful. And seeing my king at the end of the aisle, and they had his back turned to me, so he couldn't see me until like right when my dad was ready to hand me over, which kind of made it a little bit more exciting. But just like, I felt like everybody was glowing, like, and the minister that we had chosen to deliver the blessing, I swear there was light pouring off of him. It was just so beautiful and so moving, and I felt my higher self completely like stepped on down and radiating through, and it was just such a beautiful ceremony. And the reception too, I mean, our first dance, the cake cutting, the father-daughter dance, just seeing my family having such an incredible time. You know, there was a while there that I didn't think my oldest brother or my dad were going to make the flight out, and my family ended up, their flight that was supposed to come out got struck by lightning, so it got canceled until the next day. And then even then, I'm like, oh my God, I don't think they're going to get on that next plane because they're nervous travelers. So it was just so incredible to see my family come together and bond in that way for the first time ever, and to see them dancing all night long to Irish music and just having such an incredible time. And I can't even put it into words, but I'm hoping that you can feel some of this coming through as I'm sharing with you. So I don't want to spend too much time. I could like go on all day about the wedding and everything, but that's where I've been, and I've really just taken a few weeks to really integrate it and enjoy some time off from work, and I've really been getting back into the flow the last week and a half or so. And so here we are. It is full moon in Aquarius today, and wow, does the energy just feel so beautiful. And it feels like the air feels silky to me today. And the full moon is opposite to Venus right now. And Venus is like the planet of love and seduction and sensuality. And so I'm like fully feeling those Venus vibes the last few days. I've been getting back into having my queen salt baths that are filled with fresh rose petals from my garden, and I put like a pound of sea salt in it from the Dead Sea, and I bless it, and I put like rose quartz in my water, and, you know, I burn some sage, and I'll have some wine, some red wine. And I actually, right now in my hand, I have this beautiful rose chocolate that was given to us as a gift from a dear friend of mine, Mila. She was one of my first friends that I made when I first moved here to Salzburg. She's from Finland. And this chocolate is vegan and fair trade, and it's all the things, and it has rose petals in it. And when I take a bite of it, it takes me to a totally different world. So I was kind of feeling like these Venus vibes, that recording this podcast needed to have red wine, this rose chocolate, and to just really, really jam with my sisters here, because it's been a hot minute. I wanted to connect with you. So, taking a bite now. Oh God, that's divine. Yes. So I normally don't even drink wine anymore. I'm very much a water and tea person, but I've just been really feeling that pull lately, and I know it has to do with Venus. And just a lot of, sensual tantric dancing has been happening in my life and filling my mornings, and I'm just tapping into a totally different level of my divine feminine essence, and I can feel new layers of like Shakti waking up, and I've been spending more time doing my Kundalini, and it's just a very, very sexy time for me. I had a really beautiful session with a healer early last week that I've been really processing and just going through a process, feeling kind of heavy, feeling like a little bit distorted, but I know that when you do such deep work, that's natural. As you integrate stuff, it's natural to have kind of like depressive feelings and just heaviness and kind of confusion. And so what's important is that we don't attach to it, and we just ride the wave, the ebb and the flow, and just trust and surrender that this feeling is going to move past, which it always does, as long as we don't cling on to it. It's very easy for the human mind to cling on to it and make stories about it. Oh God, I'm going through a depression, or I'm just completely out of whack right now, and just really like kind of playing into the dramatic aspect of it. When reality is, no, honey, this is part of the process as we're ascending, right? It's like a spiral. We're spiraling up as we're expanding our consciousness, right? And so what happens is, as we're leveling up, our baggage cannot, like our energetic baggage, this could be stuff from past lives, earlier on in our life, parallel lives, future timelines, just our fears, cultural conditioning, worthiness wounds, doubts, ego stuff, right? It's all part of it. That comes up to surface for us to clear and transmute before we get to that next level, right? And then once we've done that, once we've gone through the processes, once we've been delivered our lessons and have learned our lessons, then we spiral up to that next paradigm, that next level of consciousness, that next level of being. And then we kind of spiral around there for a hot minute, however long you kind of stay in that space as you're integrating it all, and as you're allowing yourself to expand, and you're really bringing that into your work that you're bringing out into the world. A lot of the stuff that I share and I write, it's all based on my own experiences and my own lessons and my own personal healing. And so I'll write to that person, I'll write as the person that I needed during that time, right? And so, we'll expand ourselves in that place and just really go through a period of expansion and just really calling in, beautiful abundance and the next thing. We're making creative projects, we're birthing new things, we're birthing a new reality, we're celebrating. And then, we're in this juicy, juicy high vibe place. And then another thought form comes in, or like a download from your higher self comes in that says, hey, I want you to create this. Or, hey, what if you look at this? Or, hey, here's a blind spot you've been overlooking. And then you go into that then it triggers a whole new kind of clearing, unraveling, purging stage. That, there's times where it's going to be a lot more dramatic and a lot more heavy and sticky feeling. And there's times where it's going to feel just a lot more beautiful and fluid, and things are just going to be falling away. But that is the path of ascension, right? With each expansion, there's going to be a time of contraction as we learn our lessons and as we let go of things and we really clear our channels, and then we'll expand up into the next level. And that's how it's going to continue to be as long as we choose to walk the path that we're pathing, path that we're walking. But here's the thing, you can't really go back. Once you start to know the things that we all know you can't go back. Once you wake up, there ain't no going back. So we're on the path, and it's important that we just really surrender and allow whatever's that's trying to move through us and to be continuing to invest energy into our healing, into our development, whether that be getting a book, doing a healing session, hiring a coach, going to a seminar, just continuing to put energy in our growth, and knowing that ebbs and flows are completely natural. It's a spiral, and we'll continue to come back to the same lessons and learn the lessons at a deeper layer. And I also want to touch base, first wine, Oh, delicious. The wine here is so good. We received so many bottles of wine as gifts from, we had like a reception here in Salzburg for people that didn't come over to Spain, and, for some of our friends that just couldn't make it over. And we received a lot of really beautiful bottles of wine from Italy and from Germany and Austria, and this is one of them, and it's phenomenal. So if you're finding that something is not manifesting, and you've done a lot of work inside and externally to, you're doing all the things, but it still hasn't manifested yet. So this is where you really need to check in with yourself and ask, well, hang on. How do I say this? It is because you have not expanded your consciousness enough yet to be in full vibrational resonance for what it is that you're calling in. There are still lessons to be learned yet. There's still transmutation to be done yet. So there's certain things that you really want to check in with yourself of, okay, do I have a daily meditation practice? How am I treating myself? The universe can only take care of you as good as you take care of yourself. So are you making sure you're resting, hydrating, eating well, doing things that bring you joy? Are you, sharing your love with people? Are you showing people that you appreciate them? Are you open to receiving? Are you allowing yourself to be taken care of? Are you in an open and receptive state? Am I taking inspired, aligned action? What else? There's so many different things. Have I expanded my consciousness around the subject enough? Like if you're working on manifesting money, well, how much work have you actually done on clearing your channel and reprogramming those effed up beliefs that we've been carrying around money, right? Prosperity, by law, is our divine birthright to be pouring infinitely through us and manifesting into our experience. That is our divine birthright. We've just learned some really effed up things that have kept us from really tapping into that. I recommend the book, The Abundance Book by John Randolph Price. Totally shifted my relationship with money because I realized that there was a lot of effed up programming in the background that I wasn't even fully aware of that was affecting the way that I was perceiving money. And really, I was still very contracted out to scarcity templates, right? So are you taking aligned action? Are you visualizing it in your meditative state? Are you vibrating? Are you acting as if it's already happened? Are you feeling grateful for it? Are you preparing for the arrival? Have you done a forgiveness ceremony recently to release any resentment? Resentment is a huge abundance blocker, right? Sometimes all it is a matter of, cleaning up an energetic distortion from maybe a fight you had with your sister last year that you hadn't ever completely fully resolved. And once it actually does resolve, whoop, in comes a client. Right? Abundance can come in from all different areas, and it's often from cleaning up a distortion that has absolutely nothing to do with the original thing you were calling in. Right? Okay, so my higher self is telling me that it's time to move on and to get into what I wanted to really talk about today. What's really been going on this past week with the energies of the universe. It's been a funky time. We could be feeling very exhausted from just everything that's been shifting in the retrogrades and the Lion's Gate, and right, there's just been so much. Eclipse season really stirred up a lot and a lot of people, and so we've been really integrating it and really dealing with the aftermath of that. We've been feeling very scattered, emotional, feeling lots of highs and lows, confusion, feeling heavy, just not feeling 100%, right? So here's the thing. What's really, really happening right now is we are clearing timelines, but also, I mean, we've been clearing timelines for a while. We're clearing timelines, past lives, future lives, parallel lives. And those timelines have been fighting for our energy and fighting for our attention. So it's kind of like, I'm gonna tell a story. I'm gonna tell this with the story, as I feel like this is gonna be the easiest way to explain it. Okay, age 16 to 19, I was with an abusive man, and we were very much into the thug lifestyle of drugs and whatnot. I left him at 19. I moved on and spent 5 years with another man who's a narcissist. There was good qualities to him. There's good qualities to both, but that's just cutting it dry here. Now, when I left the first man, and a couple months later, I ended up going into this relationship with the second man, I had a decision. Am I going to leave this first man, or am I going to stay? In this reality, I left. But there is a timeline that split off in that second, or in that time. And that timeline carried on of mine and this man's relationship. So here we are, how many years later? I don't even know. 19, 7 years later, 8 years later. This timeline of me still in this relationship, I've probably had some babies with him. You know, the relationship probably got a lot more toxic, probably got a lot worse, you know? So the pain of that version of me is still existing because she played out the cycle. She played out that lifetime with him, that timeline with him, okay? Now, there's also a version of me that stayed with the other dude, the one I was with for 5 years, the narcissist, and has continued on that timeline of mortgage, oil-filled girlfriend, probably would be maybe married by now, well, maybe not. You know, maybe pregnant, maybe baby on the way, but still feeling very like something's missing. What is this life? I have all the material things, but something's missing. I'm not sure what it is. Fully playing out that timeline, right? There's also a version of me. Now, this is a trigger alert, trigger warning. Whoop, whoop, trigger warning. There's also a version of me that is still in Dominican, who didn't get to come home, that got abducted, that maybe got sold in the sex trade, or whichever. I don't like to give this timeline too much thought, but reality is that there's a timeline that I didn't come home from Dominican. I had gone through this trauma, I got to come home, but there is a version of me that didn't come home. So that timeline is running. Maybe that timeline's already done. Maybe I'm dead by now. Or maybe I'm still lost in the dark side of paradise being sold for sex against my will. Right? Okay. So when you think of your life-altering decisions, that timeline that you didn't carry through is carrying through in another dimension. And the energy of that timeline is affecting you in this reality. And what's been happening like the last week or two, which is why we've been feeling very scattered and maybe pulled in a few different directions, is that those timelines are fighting this reality for your energy, for your power. And so now that I'm bringing this into your awareness, we can shift things. So it's very, very important right now that we, throughout the day, I do this probably 3-4 times a day. It takes a second, 2 seconds. I just will say out loud or in my mind if I'm around people, I hereby call back all of my power, all of my energy, all of my soul fragments across all time, space, dimensions, ancestry, backs, fourth generations. And then just vision all this light and your power and your energy magnetizing to you in all directions, and feeling yourself fill up with each inhale, feeling yourself fill up with your light. Okay? Now, in your meditations, I encourage you to drop into these, connect with these different timelines, to have conversations with that version of you, to allow her to express herself, to ask her what she needs, to give her love, and tell her that this timeline actually isn't real, that it's a dream. Tell her that you're collapsing this timeline and you're releasing her and you're letting her go so she can be sent to the light. Okay, whatever you feel called to, because you are your best healer and your higher self is going to be guiding you through this. There's going to be a lot of like inner child work that's coming up as well right now. Of just like having conversations with your inner child. You know, maybe your parents got a divorce when you were little, but there's a timeline out there where your parents are still together, and as a child, you continue to have to watch them fight and blah, blah, blah. And so this idea about what love is and what marriage is affecting this timeline, this reality now. I hope that I've explained that as clean cut as I possibly can explain it. But pay attention to what timelines you're being brought into. But I encourage you to go into like those big timelines. So when you were at a fork in the road and you decided one thing, but you had multiple other choices, jump into the timeline of those other choices of what your life would look like now if you had gone that way, and connect with that timeline and collapse it, so that you can be fully present and fully yourself and fully whole in your reality that you have decided for yourself. Okay? So with this information that's been coming through, I actually ended up channeling a new healing modality that came through for me just yesterday, actually, as I've noticed that there's a certain timeline that was playing out that was affecting me in this reality. A person's name kept coming up into my mind repeatedly, as if this person had always been there, as if this person was part of my everyday life still. And I continue to, I bless and release this person, I send this back to sender, but it was staying kind of stuck. And as this information was downloaded, what was going on, that these timelines are fighting for our energies right now, I channeled this modality, I stepped in, I played it through, and I completely released that timeline. I collapsed it. So, for any of you that are listening, for a limited time, I'm going to be offering 2 90-minute sessions using this healing modality to help you with the collapsing of these timelines, of these split, parallel lives, future lives, past lives that are greatly affecting your experience right now, for only €555 for 2 90-minute sessions. So if you feel a stir, if you feel the call, just let me know and we can chat about it and see if this is what you need where you're at right now, which I'm sure it is, because we're all being affected by this, even if we're not aware of it or not. This is the first time this is ever being done. Us clearing all of these timelines, us breaking so many chains, us ending so many karmic cycles. This is it. It's all ending with this lifetime. And a new way of being is being birthed through us. A new way of being in the collective. And as this is being birthed through us, we are seeing systems beginning to crumble. We are seeing deceit and illusions and lies. We're seeing people's truths, people of darker forces, their truths coming to surface. And it can feel scary right now. I totally understand in our human experience. It can feel really scary just how up in the air everything feels, and what Mama Gaia is going through, and Mama Gaia is shifting and humans are shifting. I get it. It can feel really scary, but it's important that we look at the bigger picture of what's going on, is that we are birthing a new way of being, a new reality. We are birthing union consciousness, the complete union of masculine and feminine energies within and externally. And in order for that to completely reflect out in our external reality in all aspects, there are systems that are based on patriarchal systems that have to crumble. And so when we're seeing things that are going on in the politics and just humanitarian issues, and just seeing the darker forces running our planet, though we need to feel what we're feeling and allow ourselves to express ourselves, it's important to continue to come back to what it is that we're here to do in this lifetime, and the role that we are playing in the birthing of this new reality. We each have a role, whether that be a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, conscious banking, a healer, an artist, a writer, a mother. We all have different roles to help play into this grid, to help create this new grid of reality, this union consciousness. So I'm going to leave it at that. It's already been over half an hour. I don't like to keep my episodes too much longer than half an hour. I'm going to finish off this beautiful rose chocolate, this gorgeous glass of wine. And tonight I'm going to have a fire under the full moon and walk my dog and just really, really bask in the beautiful energies that are today. The air really does feel clear and silky, and I feel like everyone's feeling a lot more spaciousness today after just feeling a little like WTF the past week or two. So I'm sending so much love to each and every single one of you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. It would mean the world to me if you could leave a rating and a review to help get this show out to more sisters like yourself. And should you feel called to, sharing with a sister that you know would appreciate this consciousness expanding show. And with that, I'm going to send you on your way. Lots of love. We'll chat soon. Bye.